So with that, we're going to get started. Kevin is going to talk about Mr. and Mrs. McKean.
Thank you, Cindy, and I too want to encourage you, if you do have the means to go ahead and do it, go ahead and get right a check out tonight for the city of Mulberry Grove. That you can take that for the clerk, because we all know how important it is for the maintenance of what a beautiful job you guys do taking care of everything over here. I'm going to go ahead and start with a couple of my favorite people. This is a very dear lady and a good friend of mine, and I'm tickled to see that Randy is back here tonight. I didn't know he was going to be here. I'd put you to work if I knew you was going to be in town this evening. Richard McKean, the son of Ted and Louise Cabin McKean, was born on February 26, 1926. The year after graduating from high school, he entered the United States Army during World War II, and he served 2 years, part of the time, in the Philippine Islands. So he's one of our World War II veterans. Richard and Toni are actually buried on the about the 2nd Street over here and clear down on the very west end of the cemetery. He married Beutonne Day on September 10th, 1949. Richard worked on construction after he got out of the Army service. He also worked on railway mail service for a couple of years. He was a Fuller brush salesman, and he was the first custodian here at the newly created Beutonne County Community 1 High School, whenever the schools consolidated in 1951. In 1954, he went to work for Mayfield Chevrolet Sales as an accountant and sales course there for the Chevrolet dealership here in town. He worked for them until 1963, at which time he joined the First National Bank of Mulberry Grove. He finished out his career, of course this is the way I and most people remember him, as we're always in a suit and tie, very nattily dressed, very neat little man about himself, the longtime vice president of the Mulberry Grove National Bank. He served that position for 26 years. Likewise, most of the last 25, 30 years of his life, he served as the chairman of the board of the United Methodist Church, where him and Toni were members. He passed away in 1998. Beutonne Elaine Toni McKean, age 87, of Greenville, passed away Wednesday, July 18, 2018, at St. Luke's Hospital in Chesterfield, Missouri. The celebration of her life was held on August 4th that year over here at the Methodist Church in Mulberry Grove. In fact, just a year or two before that, we had held our rural church program here at the Mulberry Grove Methodist Church, and she was our host for that program that day, literally just a couple years before she passed away. Her and her husband were lifetime members of that church. Mrs. McKean had been born July 15, 1931, here in Mulberry Grove, the daughter of Edna G. Mole and Darrell Day. She married Richard McKean on September 10, 1949, and they had one son, Randy L. McKean. In October of 1950, she was stricken with polio and was hospitalized for more than 7 months up at St. John's Hospital in Springfield. And I believe that was leading up to your birth. When you were born, I think you were born at that same time.
She found out
she was pregnant when she found out she had polio. She was stricken with polio, hospitalized for 7 months, finished up the time basically whenever Randy was born. She was confined to a wheelchair for the rest of her life. This did not stop her from living a full life. In 1960, she was named the March of Dimes Illinois Polio Mother of the Year. This award was given annually to one mother with polio who had demonstrated that this disease did not need to handicap their life. She cared for her family just as any other mother did, doing the household chores from her wheelchair. She operated a bookkeeping service from her home for many years and served many businesses as the bookkeeper for the Mulberry Grove area. She served as treasurer for the local school district. She was the village treasurer here in Mulberry Grove, and she was later the village clerk for the city of Mulberry Grove. She was very devoted for her entire lifetime to the United Methodist Church in Mulberry Grove, where she served and led the choir and served as a church treasurer until January 2018, the year she passed away. She gained quite a reputation in this area, later extending around the country as the go-to person for genealogy for Bond and surrounding counties. She'd started in 1971 researching her own family trees and enjoyed it so much that when others would ask her for help with their family, she was only glad to help. She spent thousands of hours helping hundreds of people research their families and was still working on these projects up to the time of her death. Her own 2 books that we have in the library include the Jet family book that she authored, and also the Kuntz, Rainey, and Grigg books, which she wrote with Isa Roth. Also, Isa is a resident of Alden, Illinois. Beutonne helped her extensively on the Grigg and Elam books. These are 2 books that are about 3 inches thick that are in the basement of the public library in our genealogy room. Beutonne helped her extensively on those things and was part of the family members that was helping out with that. She was survived by her son Randy, his wife Sandra, grandsons Tyler, his wife Michelle, and Jonathan of Greenville, 3 grandchildren, preceded in death by her parents, husbands, and sisters. My personal recollection of Beutonne will always be of the 4 musketeers sitting in our Genealogical Society meeting. She was a lifetime member of the Bond County Genealogical Society, which is hosting this program we're doing this evening. And she was always there. She was our recording secretary, so she was always at the programs. And it was always them in order. It was always Beutonne and Elaine Anthony and Nelda and then Dean on the end conducting our meetings. And that's the way it was for 25 years probably. But Nelda was a dear, dear lady. One of the most formidable little characters I ever knew. Nothing could, you couldn't possibly say anything about this woman being handicapped. She wasn't really handicapped. She did anything she wanted to do and accomplished it with great grace and style. And she never really wanted any help. There was times when I'd walk her to the door and I'd open the door to let her out of me, and she'd, I don't need any help with that. Or I'd walk her out to her van because it took a while to turn the key and get that funny contraption to come out and pick her wheelchair up. And so it'd be raining, I'd offer to hold the umbrella. You don't need to do that. She was just funny. She was very, very independent. You know, I'm telling you as if you don't know this. I'm sure Randy can tell you his mother was very independent. But she was a dear, dear friend, and it was an honor to pay a tribute to her and Richard both this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.